Have you ever caught yourself imagining a full conversation that never actually happened? Maybe you pictured winning an argument, confessing your feelings, or living a completely different life. And in that moment, it felt real, almost too real. If you do this often, you're not alone. In fact, the psychology behind imagining fake scenarios is deeper than most people realize. And it says a lot about how your mind works. Because what looks like daydreaming is actually your brain doing something powerful. Your mind is constantly trying to prepare you for life. It simulates situations so you can rehearse emotions, decisions, and outcomes without facing real-world consequences. Think of it like a mental training ground. When you imagine a future conversation, your brain is practicing. When you replay a past moment differently, your brain is trying to resolve unfinished emotions. This is closely connected to something psychologists call mental simulation. It's the same process athletes use when they visualize winning a race, or performers use before stepping on stage. But here's the difference. For some people, this simulation becomes constant. It turns into detailed, emotional, and sometimes addictive inner stories. And that's where things get interesting. People who frequently imagine fake scenarios tend to have highly active imaginations. Their brains are more engaged in what's called the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for self-reflection, creativity, and internal thinking. This means they're often more creative, more introspective, and more emotionally aware. But it also means they can get stuck in their own minds. Sometimes these imagined scenarios are about things we wish would happen. A perfect conversation, a better version of ourselves, a life where everything goes right. This is your brain trying to fulfill unmet desires. It's not random, it's revealing what you truly want. Other times, the scenarios are negative. You imagine arguments, rejection, failure, even things that haven't happened and may never happen. This is your brain trying to protect you. By simulating worst-case scenarios, it's preparing you emotionally. It wants you to feel ready, even if that means creating anxiety in the process. So in a strange way, overthinking and imagining negative outcomes is actually a defense mechanism. But here's where it can become a problem, when imagination starts replacing reality. If you spend more time in imagined conversations than real ones, if you feel more confident in your head than in real life, if you keep replaying situations instead of moving forward, then your brain isn't just practicing anymore, it's escaping. This is sometimes linked to something called maladaptive daydreaming. It's when fantasy becomes so immersive that it interferes with daily life. People may spend hours lost in detailed storylines, often with recurring characters, emotions, and plots. And while it can feel comforting, it can also create distance from reality, relationships, and personal growth. But not all imaginary thinking is harmful. In fact, when balanced, it can be incredibly powerful. People who imagine scenarios often have strong empathy. They can put themselves in others' shoes, predict reactions, and understand emotions deeply. They also tend to be problem solvers. By mentally running through different outcomes, they can prepare for challenges more effectively. Writers, creators, and innovators often rely on this ability. So the goal isn't to stop imagining, it's to become aware of how you're using it. Ask yourself, are your imagined scenarios helping you grow or holding you back? Are they preparing you or preventing you from taking action? Because there's a thin line between visualization and avoidance. One builds your future, the other keeps you stuck in a loop. Another fascinating aspect is how these scenarios often revolve around identity. You're not just imagining events, you're imagining versions of yourself. A more confident you, a more successful you, a more loved or respected you. This shows that your brain is constantly trying to shape your identity. It's exploring who you could become. And that's actually a powerful opportunity, because if you can imagine a better version of yourself, you can start becoming that person in real life, but only if you take action outside your mind. Here's something most people don't realize. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. That's why imagining a stressful situation can make your heart race, and imagining success can boost your confidence. So if you're constantly imagining negative scenarios, you're training your brain to feel anxious. But if you consciously imagine positive outcomes, you can train your brain to feel more confident and prepared. This is where you can take control. Instead of letting your thoughts run automatically, you can guide them. Turn unconscious daydreaming into intentional visualization. Use your imagination as a tool, not an escape. And most importantly, bring your focus back to the present moment, because real growth doesn't happen in imagined conversations. It happens in real actions. So the next time you catch yourself lost in a fake scenario, don't judge yourself. Pause and ask, what is my mind trying to tell me? Is it revealing a fear, a desire, an unresolved emotion? Your imagination is not random, it's a message. And if you learn to understand it, you can turn it into one of your greatest strengths. Because the people who imagine deeply often feel deeply, think deeply, and create deeply. The key is to make sure you don't just live in your head, but use your mind to build a better reality. Before you leave, here's something interesting. If this video made you think even a little differently, that's your brain craving more insight. So go ahead. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this channel is all about understanding the hidden psychology behind human behavior. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think, or suggest a topic. Your curiosity might shape the next video. And share this with someone who loves understanding people, or maybe someone who needs to understand themselves a little better. Now click on the next video on your screen. Your mind will thank you for it.